There's research that tells you what you need to know about your marriage. I'm Dr. Carol, and thank you for joining me on this episode. Now, there's lots of marriage stuff out there, but there is one organization that for 50, 60 years has done the very best research on marriages and relationships. It can, with 97% or so accuracy, predict what your relationship will look like in, say, 5 years. And this research has stood the test of time. And this research has been put into a method of marriage help called the Gottman Method that has now been validated, again, over decades. Well, coming back for this conversation, part 2 with Zion Montgomery. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and she is a Gottman Level 3 trained expert in this research and method of helping marriages find the healing and help that they need. If you didn't listen to part 1 of my conversation with Zion, you might want to go back and listen to that from last time. We talked specifically about what it looks like to be married and following Jesus. What does the Christian perspective mean for marriages, and especially marriages that are in trouble? The Gottman research that we're going to talk about a lot today is not specifically Christian research, but I think you will love how Zion integrates that with faith. How can that apply to Christian marriages specifically? The principles of truth apply, regardless of whether you are a follower of Jesus or not. And if you can apply these principles as a follower of Jesus, hey, that's a setup for success. So you will very much appreciate the just packed wisdom in this conversation. Here's Zion Montgomery. Zion Montgomery, welcome back to part 2 of our conversation about marriage healing, what marriage can become. First of all, under God, that He is for our marriage, but there are some very, very practical things we're going to talk about in this part 2. So again, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you for having me. I have a lot of fun.
Yes. Well, if you didn't listen to or watch part 1, Zion and I were talking about what it's like as followers of Jesus to walk out this thing called marriage. Today, in this episode, we want to talk about some really specific things from the premier marriage researchers, not specifically Christian research, but this has been validated over decades. I know just enough to be a little bit literate about this, Zion, but first of all, what is the Gottman organization
Method.
And research and method? Yeah, give us a little background.
Yes. So Julie and John Gottman are psychologists. They've done 50 to 60 years of marriage research. They created a love lab where they put couples in and watched and coded their interactions to determine, and they call it, we compare the masters of relationship to the disasters of relationship. And what are the masters doing well that predicts, and I think the phenomenal thing about Gottman is that their research is very predictive. Yes. So they can watch and code a relationship and up to between 95 and 98% accuracy, figure out where that relationship will be in 5 years.
That is pretty powerful. And as I just know a bit about this, what was fascinating to me is the difference between those couples who made it and those couples who didn't was not the amount of conflict. Both groups could have conflict or could not have conflict. That in itself was a revelation to me. Talk about that for a second.
Right. Well, I always tell couples when we're working together, the absence of conflict is not the goal. Relationships die by fire and they also die by ice. So the lack of conflict doesn't determine the success of your relationship. What I love about Gottman is I always say you steward your habits to form your heart. And so Gottman is all about the habits of the relationship. And they have what's called, which I can share this resource, but the Sound Relationship House, which really lays out what creates a sound relationship. And there are things like there's the friendship system. There's the conflict system, and then there's the meaning system. And
Hmm.
so all of these things add together. Conflict is revealing of some of the other symptoms of the relationship, but no, it's not everything.
Yeah. Um, Conflict can be diagnostic. I also have heard and found this very interesting. Sex can be diagnostic of a relationship. What's going on in the
Absolutely.
bedroom can shine the light on so much of the other dynamics.
hmm Yes, because sex reveals how much we talked about this in part one, but how much we can play together, which is evidence of how much trust and freedom there is. It's evidence of how well we know each other, how much risk we feel we could tolerate within the relationship because it's very vulnerable. So yes, sex is very telling, but also too, some couples have great sex lives and horrible relationships, but it's because their communication is relegated only to the sexual realm,
Okay.
you
Okay.
know? So
That's
both and.
yes. Okay. All right. So, some of the predictive elements, what are some of the dangers that say this couple is headed for an end?
So probably the biggest one is the Four Horsemen. Usually, if anybody has heard of Gottman, they've heard of the Four Horsemen. They call it the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, biblical in nature. Because again, I think it was 96, 97%. If these are present, it predicts divorce within a few years. So these four horsemen are criticism. Criticism means that whatever, if there's a problem, you are ascribing the problem because the cause of the problem to a character flaw in your partner. So if you weren't just so lazy, our kitchen would be clean. Mhm. So that's criticism. Defensiveness. Defensiveness comes in one of two ways. I like to say it's the innocent victimhood. Who, me? I would never. So that's defensiveness. But also, well, you, the finger pointing is also defensiveness. Predicts divorce. Stonewalling, which is the shut off, the shutdown. You could talk to me, you're talking at me, nothing's getting in and nothing's getting out. There's no connection between us anymore. Men at first are more typical to stonewall, but the research also says that by time women stonewall, there's about a 2% chance of that relationship surviving.
Wow.
It's crazy. So as long, I like to tell men, if your woman is nagging you, you're okay. Okay, we're still in a good place. Should she be doing that? No, but she's talking still. We want that. And then the
Wow.
last one is contempt. And contempt is like the sulfuric acid of a relationship. It will deteriorate so quickly, and it puts your partner in an incredible place of pain. But contempt is like criticism in the sense of you're ascribing some character flaw to your partner, but it comes with a sort of moral superiority. I have set myself as higher than you are in my mind. Contempt usually comes, you see it in the form of like eye rolling or scoffs or um uh, condescension, but it usually comes from someone who's felt their needs haven't been met for a really long time, and so in that they have felt below their partner, so in order to survive they've lifted themselves up. So there's even in the four horsemen there are compassionate ways to view them, but they are no less dangerous. You know, you could defend them to what, the death.
Yeah.
Well, I'm acting like this because, and it's like they have to be eradicated. So that's one of the most well-known pieces of research is the four horsemen. Um, there are others, but I'll talk forever.
Well, I feel like we could talk forever about this. So, if conflict is not the measure of a healthy relationship, the presence or absence of it, what are some of the measures of the masters that make it?
hmm hmm I like to really focus on what we call the friendship system, and that's made up of a few things. One is turning towards bids for affection or connection. So a bid of connection is any reaching out of your partner to connect in some way. It could be humor, could be, wow, the sky's really nice today, just a comment, could be a reaching out of the hand, any bid for connection. The masters of relationship turn towards bids about 70% of the time. So
Hmm.
you have three options. You can turn toward the bid and acknowledge it, even make a comment, go back and forth, something, squeeze the hand, something. You've turned toward that bid. You can also turn away, which would be to ignore. I have found this to be really difficult for couples because the, they're really distracted. Couples, it's very difficult for couples to be present. So they're not even acknowledging or being able to clock in that my partner just made a bid for connection to me. So that's the second option, turn away. The last is to turn against, which would be like, oh my God, can you shut up? I'm trying to eat. Like the actual shutting down of the bid. We want to really, really avoid that. But we would like to turn towards 70% of the time. And this deals with what we call the emotional bank account. So I usually like to ask couples, where's your emotional bank account? Do you feel like you have a little bit in savings? You're living a little cushy? Are you in debt? Are you living paycheck to paycheck? Where do you feel your emotional bank account is at? And that usually has to do with bids for connection from the micro to the macro. So that's a
Wow.
part of the friendship system. Sharing fondness is also part of the friendship system. So, how affirming are you of your partner? This has to be a verbal thing we do all the time. I like to say it's not like watering your plant once a week. Hey, I appreciated that thing. It's the oxygen the plant needs to breathe. Your partner should not have to search very far to find the things you find valuable about them. They
Mm.
should know, my wife respects this in me, or my husband loves this about me. Like you're sharing it all the time. Um, Sometimes by time a couple comes to see me, they are so in what we call negative sentiment override. Everything is negative that even sharing fondness and admiration is taken as a dig. So it's they're using sarcasm or you don't really mean that. Like they can't even receive it anymore. So then I know I've got a lot of work to do.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so sharing fondness and admiration, turning towards, and I'm blanking on the last one, Dr. Carol. But those are two examples of, that's the foundation of the sound relationship house is the friendship system, which determines conflict, which determines negative sentiment override, which determines the meaning system, which is our dreams and aspirations in the future and what we see about that. So the friendship system really is.
Yeah. I can,
Also, sorry. Oh, can I add one more thing?
yes,
The
go for it.
friendship system is also, the research says, the foundation for romance, passion, and sex.
Okay.
So people think, I need to spice it up. I need to do all this crazy stuff for my sex life to improve. But in actuality, it is just build your friendship system.
Mm.
Simple.
I love that. Thank you for saying that. That was worth circling back to that moment. I sometimes tell, more often men, but women can do this too. Sex doesn't begin in the bedroom. Sex
Right.
begins much earlier in the day and in your life. It's about the
Hmm.
whole thing.
Absolutely, it is. Men do tend to struggle with that, but I think it also goes back to the biblical picture of marriage, whereas women respect your husbands, men love your wives. Like we don't need the same thing. Um, I have, and also I find with couples, it can be really difficult to start the momentum in the right direction because then husband says, well, I did the dishes and I put the kids to bed and there was still no sex.
Yes.
It's like, there's a little bit more to it than that, you know? And so I do try to caution couples in the record keeping part of that. You
Yes.
know, it's like if you're not doing it for sex, you're doing this because this is the culture you want in your relationship. And that will beget sex, you know.
That's good.
Yes.
That's really good. I can imagine some people who are married right now are listening to you talk about the friendship system and say, my spouse is too horrible. I can't be nice to them. I can't affirm them. I can't turn toward them. And they never make a bid for connection anyway. So there's nothing in me to do this. Okay, some couples are really in a bad way, but how would you respond to someone who says,
Mhm.
I just can't see myself involving myself in friendship at all?
Yes, no, it's very fair. I usually at that point, I say that couples are making bids for connection all the time. If you're in a really bad way, sometimes it comes not in the best way. So
Yes.
the bid for connection can be critical. So
Mhm.
why don't you ever blah 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 fill in the blank is a bid for connection. And I like to tell couples The goal is that your partner can make a positive ask, that they're not asking for what they don't want, they're asking for what they do want. So framing, I just hate when you put the bowls in the dishwasher up right side up. Like, it doesn't make sense. I hate when you do that. But instead saying, could you be really intentional to put the bowls this way? It would mean a lot to me. I'm asking for what I do want. Ideally, your partner will do that. But if not, respond to the heart, not the face. There is a little girl or little boy in there that's just saying, love me, love me, love me. Please
Mhm.
reach out to me, comfort me. Are they doing it with their pricklies out, like we talked about in
Yes.
part one? Yes, they are. They are. But if you can, in that moment, humble yourself enough to approach, if this was your child, you would interpret a tantrum differently. But when
Mm.
it's your spouse, you tend to have higher expectations, and I understand that. But if you can frame it that way of, oh, he's grumpy, let me just go give a hug. And like with my teenager, they at first aren't going to accept the hug, but maybe they melt into it a little bit. It's going to mean something. And none of this is magical. I like to say that habits are really small, but the impact of habits are as big as those habits are small. So
Mm.
the kiss on the cheek, that one might not mean something, but over the course of time, your the soil of your spouse's heart will soften. You will be tilling that up so that it can receive the seed. One of also the bits of research I really like is it takes about 3 months for trust to rebuild.
Oh, that's
It
good.
takes about 3 months of consistency for, because I found that if one spouse struggles with trust, usually the other one does too, probably for different reasons. Um, but it takes 3 months of you being consistent, maybe consistent in being soft, maybe consistent in withholding your criticism, maybe consistent in doing the housework and helping with the kids, maybe consistent with, hey, I committed to sex once a week. We're going to be having sex once a week. Consistent for 3 months for your spouse to let their guard down, to say, okay, this is real. This is real. I can trust that they mean this when they're saying it. Um, so I said a lot of things. Did I answer the
I love
question?
it that you did. And I want to pause on the trust thing
Yeah.
because, first of all, the difference from forgiveness, I see some married people who say, well, I apologized. I said I'm sorry. Why are they still upset with me? Um, okay, forgiveness is something that, as followers of Jesus, as Christians, we're asked to do, but that doesn't automatically rebuild trust. Forgiveness
Right.
has to, forgiveness sets you free from the past, so you're not holding that over your spouse, but that period of time to then build trust in whatever area
Yes.
that is, um, that's just our human nature. That doesn't mean something is wrong. It's just the way
Right.
we humans are that it takes that.
Absolutely. Well, and we're asking our spouse to give themselves over to us.
Yeah.
In Proverbs 31, the scripture talks about a wife, a godly wife, and her husband's heart safely trusts in her.
Yes.
I have a mentor of mine who said, I made that my mission for my husband's heart to safely trust in me.
Mm.
I have to be consistent for that to be true. I have to be safe for him to give himself over to me, and vice versa. So I can forgive you. That's between, really, it's between me and the Lord. I have given you over from my judgment to the Lord's, to say, I'm not holding that weight anymore. And I can't in wisdom pretend like nothing happened.
Yes.
I'm not called to do that. I'm not, the forgive and forget phrase.
Yep.
I don't like it. Not a fan.
Exactly.
um, we're not walking with it every day. It's not in the forefront of my mind every day. And I do have to see fruit of at least desire to change, progress toward change. Um, my I'm trying to think of an example, because I feel like my husband and I have walked through this often in both ways. For my husband, men, sex is something different for them. You may have heard this statistic, Dr. K, you probably have, and your listeners probably have, but the bonding chemical oxytocin. oxytocin. Women get oxytocin all the time. I'm getting oxytocin talking to you right now, my friend. I'm having a great time. I feel closer to you. We're bonded.
Yes.
Um, I can have oxytocin cuddling my baby. I have oxytocin in pregnancy. I get oxytocin everywhere. Men get oxytocin in one place, and that is at orgasm.
Yep.
That is the only time.
Yep.
So I really hurt my husband's trust when sex became inconsistent in our marriage. And for me, it's like, bro, get old. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But for him, he didn't feel connected to me at all. I really did actually break his trust. And
Mm.
so that was a way that I had to become consistent, and I had to do my own work. I think when wives hear that, it can be tempting to think, oh, well, that they conflate that with the submission thing of like, I just have to like not feel what I feel to show up. Your husband doesn't want that either. So for me, I had to do work with my own stuff and work with my own baggage so that I could come honestly and authentically and be consistent enough over a period of time so that he could trust me. Um, Forgiveness, yes, is a piece. And we let us continue to be sanctified into Christ Jesus that our spouse can trust us.
Yes. Yes. That that is beautiful and also hopeful. It reminds me of what Dr. Henry Cloud says, that forgiveness deals with the past, trust deals about the future. And for trust to begin to grow, there must become evidence that the future might be different than the past.
Yes,
It's not
exactly.
only you saying, I'm sorry, it's that I have to see you doing work to become different. So therefore,
Hmm.
I become safer with you because you are
Yes,
becoming a safer person.
absolutely. It's powerful. And you have to be humble to do
Yes.
that, to own that I have given my spouse reason not to trust me.
Mhm. Of
Because I thought I was perfect. And then I got married.
course, of course. Yeah. Oh, thanks for being authentic with that also, Zion. I
Mm.
think sometimes, people who are listening or watching to a conversation such as this might feel like, oh, you guys have it all together. This is a journey. It's a process. It's part of becoming like Jesus, and
Mhm.
it's part of the investment that your marriage needs. We
Yeah.
referenced in part one, your wedding night is not the destination; it's the launching pad.
Mhm.
I'm also aware of social science research that says those couples who persist, their bonding, even their sexual connection, their satisfaction with the marriage as a whole can become better and better. And even into their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, that
Mhm.
satisfaction can continue, not because of the absence of problems, but working through stuff can
Mhm.
actually lead to a bonding that is closer because we've been through war together and we're still.
Exactly. Exactly. One of the parts of the sound relationship house. So there's all these levels. I will share the document. All these levels, and then the two walls of the sound relationship house are trust and commitment. And so we say if we do not have these walls, the house cannot stand. There is
Yes.
no house. So the elements of trust, two of them are attunement. So being attuned to the emotional climate of one another, that I have studied you enough, I've paid attention enough to know how your sadness manifests itself, to know how your frustration manifests itself. And I know the that you can trust me with your best. That's one of them. And the second one is processing effectively negative events.
Yes.
So it's not that negative events don't happen. It's that when they do, we repair them, that I
Yes.
come into a greater understanding of you. I feel heard by you, and we make a plan together to move forward in a new way that honors each of us is also a huge part of trust. And so sometimes in the forgiveness thought, I think couples say, well, I just have to let it go and not think about it anymore. It's actually the opposite of the truth. The goal, there are things like don't sweat the small stuff is basic marriage advice that is true,
Yep.
but
Yep.
what's not small, sometimes the event may be small, but what's not small is the impact that it has on our hearts. And so we don't want to let those little things create distance between us that's unnecessary. We want to be able to repair. So I think part of that is the reason that such satisfaction can exist. What you mean I'm going to be getting it all when I'm 60? It's like, Yes, there is hope. So I think all of that plays a big part.
Mm. I feel like we could talk for hours about this. This has been absolutely packed, Zion. I'm going to let our listeners know some details about the Marriage Healing Kit. But one thing I'm really excited about is that you and Avery, for those who are part of our premium level for the Marriage Healing Kit, the two of you are going to be involved in our small group intensives with a
Mhm.
few couples coming together.
Yes,
You get to experience this firsthand, folks. I am so grateful and excited about that.
we are
Um,
so pumped.
Yes, absolutely. And we will definitely, in the notes for this episode, have links to your marriage and family therapy site, Therapy with Zion. So if you guys are listening and hearing, and I need more of Zion, well, yeah, we'll show you how to how to get that.
Thank you, thank you.
You have been so generous with all of this. That's now become such a big part of your heart, and we are better for having
Oh,
had this time with you, Zion.
thank you, Dr. Carol. I love you.
I feel like Zion and I could have talked for maybe 3 hours about the research and Gottman method of helping marriages find healing and what that looks like and can look like for you. This was such a packed episode. If you want to connect more with Zion, Therapy with Zion, that link is under this video and in the show notes. So check that out. I also want to remind you about our marriage healing kit. So many couples need help. Your marriage is in trouble. But I believe with all my being that it doesn't have to be the end. Your marriage isn't hopeless. It's just ready for a miracle. That doesn't mean, oh God, please fix my spouse, although calling out for help is always okay. But as Zion and I talked about, there are principles, there are skills, there are ways of living, there are ways of learning and bringing yourself to your marriage, becoming more whole that set you up for success. Our Marriage Healing Kit is a powerful group of resources to help you experience exactly that. drcarolministries.com/marriage healing, or you'll find the link in the show notes or under this video. This Marriage Healing Kit includes our online video course, Fully Alive Marriage, 10 video modules with a lot of specific teaching. You'll meet other couples who are in various degrees of their becoming fully alive. Each of those 10 modules has a lot of supplemental material also, videos or articles or other resources on specific aspects of marriage and marriage healing. That course goes through the mindset that you need, developing skills like communication and dealing with conflict, specifically about sex and intimacy, dealing with the really big problems, whether that's addiction or toxicity or infidelity. And then how do you set your marriage up to be successful for the long haul, planning for the future? All of that is in the Fully Alive Marriage course. But the full kit includes more than just that. It includes a downloadable 40-day prayer guide where you can just follow along and have these bite-sized prayers to pray daily for 40 days, inviting Jesus right into the middle of your messy marriage, written out that you can pray. This kit also includes our Guide to Healthy Communication in Marriage, that ebook, and that comes along with some worksheets to help you talk about the hard stuff, like talking about sex, talking about money, talking about some of those really hard things. The kit also includes 3 45-minute sessions with me that you can either use individually or ideally as a couple. If the two of you are working through this together as a couple, that's ideal. And just some outside perspective with me can sometimes just be the catalyst to get over some of the roadblocks and move forward. At the premier level, this marriage healing kit includes a small group marriage intensive where you and your spouse and 2 or 3 other couples come together in a small group. I'm facilitating along with Zion and her husband Avery, Zion and Avery Montgomery, being part of facilitating this small group marriage practical intensive where you get some personal individual help in a small group setting or in our beautiful Transformation Place location here in Central Texas. I would encourage you to seriously consider that premier level. That experience in itself is healing, and you'll get some just live interaction with a couple other couples who are in trouble. This isn't, shining the spotlight on, one person's bad. You get to see that you're not alone, that your problems aren't quite as unique as you may feel right now. And then some individual personal help from experts, myself and Zion and Avery Montgomery, in dealing with your unique marriage challenges. I know that your marriage can experience a miracle. What that miracle looks like is up to God. But these resources are a powerful and practical way to move toward that. And I would invite you to check that out, drcarolministries.com/marriage healing, or check the link in the notes or under this video. I'd love to hear from you if you have questions. drcarolministries.com/contact. The contact page there is confidential. Your questions come directly to me and I respond personally. I would love to hear from you with comments or questions. And then stay tuned. We still have more of our focus on marriage healing. Some really powerful experts coming up. Ann Davis and Michael Morris, just some great conversations as we finish out our marriage focus. So we're not done yet. Stay tuned. Join me again next time. And until then, God bless you.